Hello friends and bees and friends who are also bees, and welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week we are continuing with Higurashi When They Cry, Tatarigoroshi. When we left off last week we had met Satoko's uncle, and it was pretty rough and awful, and then we couldn't sleep, which meant that we woke up late, which meant that we escaped off school. So then we met the photographer, whose name I've forgotten, and his partner, whose name I've also forgotten, despite having interacted with them both now for 3 chapters in this video, Jane. Then they told us a pretty shitty, horrible story about some of the shit that's going on here in Hinamizawa. And then we were like, hey, maybe we can slack off some more before we go to school. And that's where we are now. The achievement for this chapter, by the way, is called Influence, asked for help from an adult, and then the one after that is 15,000 seconds, reach an epiphany, or 1500 seconds, so I'm intrigued. So let's beat a hasty swap over to the GP, and make sure my music is actually paused. Today's stream might be a little, Higurashi streams are normally pretty chill. This one might be even more chill than usual because I have got a bumping headache, and I have absolutely no doubt it's from dehydration, and to remedy it I have very slowly drunk a glass of water, and I will probably get up in the middle of this to get some more, or possibly a painkiller depending on how we go. So time to suffer, I guess, both IRL and in-game. Let's go. Oh, I guess we did get to school. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on the shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. Looked like they'd just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. Oh, Maebara, are you okay? A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day. Well, I'm just late for school. Don't worry about it. Anyway, what about Satoko? Did she come today? Girls exchanged glances, saw the thin shadow fall over their faces, and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. Satoko was absent today too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she'd only come back for 1, and now she was out again. Who knew she'd come tomorrow? Yeah, but the teacher said she got a phone call from Satoko. She said she had a cold. Chie said everyone should make sure to rinse their mouths out really well. Wait a minute, Chie? That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your people are sending out an SOS? But even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle in safety. No matter the result, it would end up just like the public agencies, with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satoko's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option? She's right. Be careful not to catch a cold, got it? You can go now. There's still plenty of time left in lunch break. The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard. Oh, Keiichi! Reina was yelling out the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika poked their heads out too. We were very worried that even you would be absent today. Thank goodness. You don't seem sick. You look pretty okay. I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much. What happened? Overslept? Well, late is late. Think if I said I was late because of a train accident, you'd let it slide? You overslept? Mion was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated she was right. There's still more bento. Everyone eat up. Without Keiichi, we couldn't have any fun. Satoko was still absent, huh? Even Reina, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened. She called this morning. Apparently she said her cold came back and she was staying home again. She said it might go on for a while, too. She must be sad, so we were talking about going to visit. What are you saying, Rika? Not pleased with Rika running. It was a wide smile, as though it was a happy occasion. I threw cold water on her. We know best of all she doesn't have a cold, don't we? Don't ever tell a fib like that again, even as a joke. I'll get mad next time. Rika furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology. It's not just you, Keiichi. It's hard for everyone. I know I'm not the only one worrying, but none of us can do anything either, can we? That's true, but... I got the feeling I would cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologised first. Sorry. I'm sorry, so forget about what I just said. It's hard for everyone, right? It must be. It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately. I know it might not be what you want to hear right after you get to school, but you were late today, Keiichi. Did it have anything to do with Satoko being absent? Huh? Mion, what are you talking about? Sometimes you act kind of foolhardy, Keiichi. When both you and her were absent this morning, we seriously thought you might have kidnapped her and hidden her somewhere. Easy for you to say. If I could have, I'd have done that last night. None of them had really thought about how difficult that clear-as-day solution was. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening, and then I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort. Don't be dumb. I couldn't hide someone. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologise if I upset you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's eat some food. I'm starving. I took my bento box out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit. Meibara, did you just get here? And just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chie came along. Miss Chie. I always forget that I should call her Miss Chie. Yeah. Sorry for being late. I overslept. What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look. When you finish eating, could you and the president come to the teacher's lounge? There's something I want to talk about. Probably about Satoko, I thought. Teacher left it at that and went back out into the hallway. Eating lunch can wait. Let's go, Mion. You're right. Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other and got up. It's probably about Satoko. No doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now. I kept playing dumb, so I think she gave up asking me. Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Toko's friend and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home? So this is solidly. I should probably put an abuse warning at the front of this, but if we get back into direct confrontation with the topic, I will. So I'll leave it off for now. This is coming from the perspective of an adult who, I know, would you believe it? I am actually an adult who works in education from the opposite perspective. I work in the I'm one of the hated back office staff who keep facilities running because without us they would all fall to shit. I do just want to march into the game and shake these kids and say it's difficult, but you have to tell the teacher. Well, you don't have to, but you know, even in the 80s, I mean, different in the 80s, but especially now, teachers are trained in this. It's you know, certainly mandated by the government in the UK that there will be somebody in the school. There should be somebody in the school who is an expert in this. And I mean, I very rarely interact with our students because of my position, and because I'm not on reception. I'm sort of almost always upstairs and in the back office. I very rarely interact with the students, but like even I know what I would do if there was a safeguarding concern reported, and it would be reported to the safeguarding specialist at my college, who her whole job role is to look after situations like this. Anyway, that's just my solidly an adult perspective. What should we do? Maybe we should use this chance to get a collective opinion. What do you want to do, Rika? Stoko's closest and bestest friend was Rika. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together, so I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard. I know why Satoko was enduring her uncle's torture. Everyone looked startled and turned to me. Back then, whenever Satoko was abused, she probably hid and cried behind her brother. But Satoko thinks that in the end that's why her brother ran away. Who did you hear that from? The coach, I bet. I nodded quietly. Satoko believes her brother will come back if she can withstand the abuse, Maybe that's why she's trying to push through, but that assumption has nothing to deal with Satoshi coming back. It hurts to say that about Satoko, but it's the truth. Being abused fucks up your mental perception of things so bad. Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Satoko probably won't be happy no matter who helps her. She wants to withstand everything with her own strength. But is it really right to respect that? I don't think it is. Even if Satoko hates us for a while, I think there will come a time when we need to save her against her will. And I think that time might be now. I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday. Keiichi, so you think we should tell someone? Of course, only after we're sure that reporting it to a public agency will guarantee her safety. Without being sure of that, it could just get more dangerous for her instead. It's a difficult problem. You think we can get a definite promise out of the teacher? I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika had a hand raised for a while, as if asking for an opportunity to speak. I will leave it to Keiichi. What? Is that okay, Rika? Keiichi is thinking about Satoko more than anyone else here. If Keiichi thinks that we need to tell someone, then I have no complaints. Thanks. Mion, Reina, are you okay with that? Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Reina's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same. Okay, let's go, Mion. Right. Need to get a proper voice for Rika, especially as the next chapter is mostly about her. Only Ms. Chie was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I came in, she closed up a curry bender, saving the rest for later. I do like her curry shrine. Sit over there, please. She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably before the teacher walked over, carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us. Meibara, you were absent this morning. Did something happen? I'm sorry, I overslept. Really? I have no reason to lie. She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satoko. In any case, I think you two already know, but your friend Hojo, Miss Hojo, has been away frequently lately. Neither Mion or I had anything to say in response, but the teacher proceeded, not minding. Would you happen to know anything? There are some people in class spreading bad rumours. Mion looked down and remained silent, as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me. Mion? Or you, Meibara? I won't get mad or anything, okay? If you know something, I just want you to tell me. Teacher, can we ask you a question first? She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised. I don't know what rumours are going around about Satoko in class, but if these rumours happen to be true, what would you do, teacher? Well, what would I do? If it's true, then I can't leave it alone. Can't leave what alone, exactly? What would you do? Teacher's eyes shot up. My brows, even. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight. Meibara, I'm being serious here. So am I. I'm also being completely serious right now. Please answer me. If it were true, what wouldn't you leave alone? Sensei, teacher, took a free breath, then began to speak slowly. First, I'd have to visit Miss Hojo's house to confirm the situation. Her uncle might get mad and drive you away, though. Well, okay, let's say you did meet with Satoko and her uncle. Then what? Then I'd ask whether it was true. Once I got the facts, I'd go from there. Please stop talking so vaguely. What exactly would you do? Even despite my tone being so provocative, Ms. Chie bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Miss Chie really did have her students' best interest at heart, but she didn't have the power or the authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Teacher folded her arms, and for a few moments she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. When they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before. There's a law called the Child Welfare Law. It clearly states that abuse against children will not be allowed, no matter who it is. So it would seem, then what? I'd contact the Okonomiya Child Consultation Centre. You said just now that I'd be turned away, didn't you? Child welfare officers can bring the police with them if the situation demands. They will not submit to intimidation. How many days would it take after you contact the social worker and submit the paperwork for her to be saved? It would be the same day. Their job is to guarantee the immediate safety of children. I know that. That's if they decide there's an urgent need. If they didn't, then they'd do the same as you. They'd go from there. They'd just wait and see, right? They'd just watch. It would make Satoko's uncle's mood sour, and Satoko would be stuck with them there. Keiichi, that's going a little too far. I'm not lying, am I? Last year or the year before, whatever. That's exactly what happened when the child welfare people came, isn't it? And what happened then? You and the teacher would know about it a lot better than I would. I'd said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything right from the start. Miss Chie looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat. Hello? Put me through to extension 3455, please. Is this okay, Keiichi? Is this really okay? It was too late. The dice had been cast. Now we could only pray. Oh, thank you for answering my call. I'm Chie, a licensed teacher at the Hinamizawa branch school. Would Director Watanabe happen to be in the guidance office? Yes, that's right. Something urgent came up, so I'd like to contact the principal as soon as I can. Yes, thank you. Please tell him immediately. Yes, thank you. The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a breath, like I always did. I'll ask the two of you again. Are the rumours going around class really true? Yes. Yesterday I went to Satoko's house and I saw for myself just how bad it really is. You can leave the rest to me. I'll definitely do something for Satoko. Something? Please stop saying such ambiguous things. Not something. We have to save her. Phone noise gave my heart attack. They ended up deciding wait and see again. How do you plan on taking responsibility? While I was yelling, the phone rang. Miss Chie snatched the receiver up first. Hello. Oh, I apologise for interrupting your training. Yes. Actually, it's about the issue with Miss Satoko Hojo. Yes. Teacher waved us away, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her. Yes. No, I haven't contacted them yet. Yes. I haven't confirmed it, but it seems pretty bad from what the children are saying. It's not just pretty bad, do something about it, right now. If you're going to report it, then I don't care who you tell, but I swear if they end up just waiting and watching, I'll never forgive you. I yelled angrily at teacher and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way, convey to them just how dangerous the situation was right now. So describe it! Using facts, not opinions, verifiable facts. You report the facts like Satoko has been only at her uncle's house and the supermarket for the last 3 days, and I spotted bruises, and I heard her uncle shouting at her. You're not saying her uncle is physically abusing her. What you're saying is, these are the facts that I have noticed. Whatever is the truth from that, you can deduce it. I haven't seen her uncle hitting her, but I do know that she is, spent the majority of her time in her uncle's house, and she has bruises as if she's been hit. It makes me cringe. I know this game is set in the 80s and written God knows how long ago, but still it makes me cringe. I understand that. I will tell them as much. Mion, please take Maebara back to the classroom. Yes, ma'am. Let's go, Keiichi. We should leave this to the teachers now. You better promise. And to the very last moment, I glared at teacher. Miss Chie was being pressured by the likes of me. Idiot, this isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give me a firm nod that'll set my mind at ease. Even so, we've already left things in our hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Correct action. Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. Hi, Nagels. I hope you're doing well. I do apologise if you came in just to hear my rant about safeguarding. I happen to work at a college, or I work in education, so I've had all the training on this and I'm very passionate about it. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day. All you've missed so far is that after Skyping off school, we came into school and had a conversation with Chie where we confirmed, basically, that Satoko is in an abusive situation. Article 2, definition of child abuse. The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian. Okay. It makes sense. I keep having to tell myself this game is set in the 80s. And then also in Japan, where things are no doubt extremely different from where they are over here, but it still makes me cringe, just as a person. Meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of a minor, or other person who's currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter the same shall apply. Took a break there to rename chat, because I forgot. Against a child, meaning a person who's under 18 of age, hereinafter the same shall apply. 1. Assault the child in a manner that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of a child. Engage in indecency against a child or cause a child to engage in indecency. Substantially reduce the amount of food for children or abandon and neglect the child for a long time period in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally, physically, otherwise materially fail to perform the duty of a custodian and cut off the screen, or speak or behave in a manner that be significantly traumatic to the child. Article 3. Prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Law number, act, blah blah blah. Yeah, 19 blah blah blah. Principal abusers in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,252. Mother by blood 2,943, 55%. Mother not by blood 203, 3.8%. Father by blood 1,445, 27%. Father not by blood 488, 9.1%. 19 blah blah. Instances by type of use in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physical 2,780, 51.9%. Neglect, abandonment of child 1,728, 32.3%. Psychological abuse 458, 8.6%. Forbidden from going to school 75, 1.4%. Sexual 311, 5.8%. We really do hate it, Precious. We hate it a whole lot. The achievement for this next section is 1,500 seconds, reach an epiphany. The Die of Fate and Cast. Reporting to a public agency, which we'd kept being warned could have resulted in something far worse for Satoko if we didn't have the evidence first. And just like that. Had I failed? Had I let my emotions get the better of me in that moment? Maybe I should have stayed silent and left everything to Mion, since she had been relatively calm. Yeah, sorry, big thumbs from upstairs. Unfortunately, I tend to check, like, each chapter beforehand, just to, like, get an idea of what it's about. Probably shouldn't, but I do, so looks around shiftily. I remember the punishment game where we had to badmouth Curry and how me saying anything would have made it worse, and Satoko told us to leave the talking to her. Maybe it was the same thing here. I was impulsive, so maybe I should have just shut up and looked at the floor, but it was too late to lament it. The die I had thrown wouldn't be coming back into my hands. All we could do was pray for something good to happen. Keiichi, you did everything you could, so leave it to the teachers now, okay? Everything I could? If I really gave it everything I had, if I'd really struggled, I would have dragged Satoko out of the home last night and hidden her in some Banaden house. I didn't, so that means I didn't do everything I could. Stop thinking about it, alright? You're being a little too persistent, Keiichi. At this rate, you'll collapse. Just leave me alone. I left her with those words and stared lazily up at the ceiling. I wondered if I'd really got Ms. Chie to understand. Would the public agency intervene and solve everything within the day? Would they acknowledge the abuse and guarantee her safety? After lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. Tucci came back to the classroom occasionally, but the phone in the lounge would ring and she'd have a long conversation with the caller. Everyone in class got the feeling they knew what those phone calls were about. Tucci came trotting back in from the classroom. I'm really sorry for all the phone calls recently. Let's call it a day. President, please lead the class. I still don't have my Chie voice down. Everyone stand up. It looked to me like teacher had been wearing a dark expression ever since the lunch break. It wasn't a very relieving expression. It wouldn't be. Even if teacher 100% understood the situation and passionately explained it to the other person, at the end, the Child Consultation Centre, as a public agency, would be the ones to decide whether to get her to safety. Teacher understood that as well as us, and that's why she looks so unreliable right now. I suppose Higurashi probably knows the social welfare system from the other side very well, so... Keiichi, let's go home. I don't think anyone feels like having the club today. Mion, it's no fun if someone's not here. Reina was right. It was no fun for us if someone was missing. If the teacher's expression had shown more promise, then maybe we could have gone home comfortably. But I couldn't let myself feel relieved. I couldn't be naive and tell myself all I can do is pray, now that the dice have been cast. Just in case they didn't get her to safety and decided to wait and see again. I need to take further measures. We've asked the people who could do something official already. Then there was one more place that was worth asking for help. She might laugh it off, or I might be right, and I could be endangering my own life. But I'd try. Oh, Mion, is it okay if I stop by your place today? You've got a lot of mango, right? I want to borrow a bunch of them. Huh? Sure, I guess. There was an ominous meaning behind my words, so Mion realised what I really meant right away. I wanted to talk about something alone. That's what I meant. Mion, Reina, let's go home. Reina already- Mion, Keiichi, Jesus, I can't read, it's okay. Reina already had her shoes on, was waving to us from the schoolyard. Mion's house was gigantic in every way imaginable. The house itself was vaguely old-fashioned, traditional Japanese house, but the yard, I guess, or their plot of land, was enormous. It easily convinced me they really were major landowners, with Hinamizawa under their thumb. Mion brought me through the guest room and a servant brought us some tea. Wow, you really are rich, huh? You even got housekeepers? Grandma and I are the only ones who live here. I wouldn't be able to do everything myself. The servant left, telling us it was 5 o'clock, then withdrew with soft footsteps. We had people come in to take care of Grandma and clean 2 or 3 times a week. They come in rotations of 3 or 4, so there's someone here almost every day. Only until the evening, though. Oh, and if we're having a party or something where we need more help, we call up different people. If you had the money to hire all these people, then just say Satoko in. I glared at her as I thought that, and Mion seemed to catch on immediately. Oh, sorry. It's fine. I know it's not a money problem. Just to be clear, my family may be rich, but it's not money that I can use freely for myself, okay? I don't want you to misunderstand that. Kind of looked like I was bullying her. Mion had been apologising to me a lot lately. Was Mion the sort of person who would do that this much? I'm glad that Keiichi is finally gaining some self-awareness throughout all these repetitions. It's fun to see the characters develop throughout. And I'm only in the 3rd chapter, I've got 5 more to go. Maybe it's just that I've been looking so grim lately. So, what's up? You had something to talk about, right? I have something pretty serious to discuss, Mion. This will be sudden and you might be surprised, but I want you to hear me out. Huh? What? Oh, I'll give you a way out first. Even if what I say is true, you don't need to admit it. You're allowed to play dumb, but I want you to listen until the end. I have something to say to the next leader of what's still the most important of the 3 families of Onigashiki village, Mion Sonozaki. At first Mion looked like she had no idea what I was saying, but at hearing the whole sentence and putting it together, she reacted. Where did you hear that? It doesn't really matter. Definitely couldn't tell her who told me. Mr. Kano, you told me not to, but please forgive me. This is why I asked you about it after all. I was surprised just that you heard of Onigashiki village, Keiichi, but you seem to know a lot of things, both true and false, about me too. Yeah, true and false. I really might just have the wrong impression here, but I'm okay with that, so listen. And if it really is true? I don't know what you're getting at, Keiichi, but let me say this beforehand. You've got a big misunderstanding, so if it were possible, I wouldn't want to hear what you were about to say. Because even if you said it, I can't do anything to help you. Still, if talking about it will lighten your burden even a little, I'll listen. I'm only just going to listen. Nothing more will happen. Are you okay with that? Yeah. Mion seemed to know what kind of thing I'd be talking about. She warned me that doing so would be fruitless. That much was obvious. If what I was going to say was true, then the Sonozaki family would be the masterminds behind the string of freak deaths that had been occurring every year in Hinamizawa. You know the stuff about Oyashiro-sama's curse, right? Mion nodded a little. No one knows what it is or why it happens. Even if each incident is solved, the string of deaths and accidents as a whole is still a mystery. But there's one thing connecting them all, and that's how the targets are always enemies of the village. Seems like it. Mion spoke as if it didn't relate to her. That was fine. She didn't have to admit it. For now, I just wanted her to stay quiet and listen to me. I personally do think that I think the Sonozaki family have some involvement in it. My current thinking is that it's certainly at least some of them were carried about the Sonozaki family. I think that the year before last, Satoshi was the one who beat the uncle, and then he either disappeared or beat the aunt rather. I reckon he tried to flee, possibly passed away, but, you know, and was never found, but I reckon that's what happened. He tried to run away, but I reckon he was the perpetrator of last year. Year before that, well, certainly the first 2 years, I think the Sonozaki family were involved. And possibly even with Rika's parents. I don't know about that though. It seems it still seems odd to me. That does, but certainly I'm of the opinion that for me it's the fact that the aunt was beat to death with a baseball bat, and we have, you know, we know Satoshi has associations with baseball bats. That's my personal opinion, but I think the Sonozakis are somewhat involved, and I think certainly to a degree there is somebody taking advantage of the you know, of what's going on in very human terms, regardless of whether or not it's true. Like, I don't know. I really don't actually have any proper theories, you know? You know? The day after tomorrow, it's Watanagashi, isn't it? Has the sacrifice for this year's curse been decided already? Mion didn't answer. Her expression remained the same too. Like she said, she was just quietly listening. Sorry. The promise was that you just listened, so it was weird for me to ask a question, huh? Mion gave me a look she'd never given me before. A faraway look, a sympathetic one. Let me know if the music is too loud, by the way. I hate balancing audio, I'm terrible at it. So just looking at the levels, it seems like it's really loud, but I have no idea what that actually translates to. I can only, like, adjust in my headphones. I hate balancing audio, I'm so bad at it. My neighbours are very loud today, I do apologise. Probably can't hear them actually, I think it's just me that can hear them. My mic is, the way my mic is set up, it's not omnidirectional, it's like in a cone in front of me. So it doesn't... I don't think it picks my neighbours up, but I still worry. Anyway. Mion gave me a look she'd never given me before. A faraway look, a sympathetic one. She didn't nod, she just smiled faintly and listened to me. If this year's curse isn't going to be on Satoko's uncle, then please change it to him. I mean, last year it was her aunt, right? It's in the right order, so it wouldn't be weird. You're right, it seems like there is an order. I mean, after our aunt died to the curse last year, he abandoned Satoko and fled into town for a whole year. Why wouldn't a guy like that definitely be next on Oyashiro-sama's list? There shouldn't be any issue with choosing him for this year. I see. If he were to die from the curse this year, no one would see anything unusual about it. I heard that Oyashiro-sama's curse as well. No matter how I looked at it, I wasn't sure whether I should continue. No matter how I tried, the words wouldn't come out. The string of freak deaths in Hinamizawa, also called Oyashiro-sama's curse. You're saying that incidents perpetrated by the village, carried out by the three families at the Sonozaki's instructions. Is that it? I don't care one bit whether you have anything to do with it. I'm just saying, if you have any way of communicating with whoever decides the targets of the curse, then I just want you to tell them to choose Satoko's uncle, please. Everything you've been saying has been terrible. If the freak death incidents in Hinamizawa were carried out by the will of the Sonozaki family, that would mean the main culprit would be me, wouldn't it? I like how she says this with such a smile on her face. It really does make me think she's involved. I would have chosen to target the curse, given me instructions, killed many people, and gotten rid of others. You're calling me a murderer, Keiichi. I didn't say that. Didn't you listen to me? I don't care whether you're the one behind the murders or not. I just don't. Even if you were the culprit, it doesn't change the fact that you're my friend. Oh, Keiichi. It doesn't matter at all. If the police were chasing you, I'd come to help. I'd make you an alibi and even help you escape, because we're friends and comrades, aren't we? Mion looked surprised for a while. She was dumbfounded. Now you're declaring yourself complicit? Keiichi, that's pretty bold of you. Come on, don't interrupt. Satoko's uncle. Choose him for... Stop right there, Keiichi. I want to start on dinner soon, so I'd like to leave things at this. Mion. Then realised that my cheeks were wet with tears. The slid down my chin and fell, drip-drop, to the tatami mat. It's like I said at the start. You got a big misunderstanding. Oyasura-sama's curse is just that. Even if there were people behind those incidents, they don't have anything to do with the Sonozaki family, or me either. Right, I understand that. It's just... It was touching to hear such a desperate plea, Keiichi, but that was all it was. Even if I wanted to help, I can't. You understand that too, right? Yeah. But now I know how you feel so well it hurts. If I really were, like you said, the one controlling the three families and choosing the sacrifices every year, I'd probably grant your wish. Mion. But the reality is different. I'm just Mion Sonozaki. My family may be the subject of all sorts of bad rumours about controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows, but we have nothing to do with the freak death incidents. We may have been a little extreme during the dam war, but that's all. We would never do something so insane as to kill people. Don't say such sad things. Right now, at least, I don't care. Why can't you just be nice and lie to me? Keiichi, you're free to believe what you like. If I lied to you now, you'd be convinced Satoko would be freed the night after tomorrow, and you'd be able to shed much of your burden. However, reality is harsh. Satoko's uncle will survive beyond that day. He'd still be alive next week, and the week after that. You need to prepare yourself for that. I don't want you coming to me the day after Watanagashi and demanding to know why he wasn't killed. Mion. Mion stood up slowly and closed the sliding door to keep out the wind that had grown chilly. Was it Mio? Did she give you all those ideas? She really likes to misunderstand things about Hinamizawa. Well, we can let her have her fun. But I don't really want her influencing you, Keiichi. Jeez, this is why outsiders are no good. Mr. Kano has nothing to do with it. Right. Don't worry. Even though I know she told you about it, Keiichi, nothing's gonna happen. It's not like Ms. Mio will be chosen for this year's curse. Besides, we don't even know for sure if the curse will happen this year. Maybe it's all just a pile of unfortunate coincidences. Thanks for listening. If you aren't connected to the serial deaths at all, then that must have been an uncomfortable conversation. I'll apologise for it. I see. You'll apologise for it. Haha. Mion said she didn't have much time, but she still brought me to the gate. She said she had a meeting or something today about Sunday's Watanagashi festival, so there'd be a lot of people from the town council and the festival committee coming. Despite her day being so busy, she still listened to what I had to say. If there's a God in heaven, then he probably understands how strongly you feel. Yeah, I'm really sorry for being so weird today. You can pretend like this discussion never happened if you want. Okay, I'll forget about it. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. I'd really only spent a short time with Mion. Talking to her made me think. It was clear that what Mr. Kano had told me at least wasn't a complete fabrication. If Mion was really unconnected to the incidents, then she probably wouldn't have listened to me so quietly. She heard me out until I was done without making any quips, and I wanted to think that was proof. I still think it is. I think they're at least partially responsible. I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. I solidly think they are responsible for this year's murders. The first time round, I couldn't necessarily find a clear motive. Last time round, last cycle, the motive was incredibly clear. And this time, I guess the motive would be that they are... At least one of them is spreading rumours, but... Maybe the first time round they broke into the hut anyway, and then we just weren't, like, around for that, so we never knew. I don't know. Theories, man. I'm enjoying. I do like this game a lot. I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. Of course, thinking back on it, it was a terrible thing to discuss. I mean, I went to my friend's house, called a serial murderer, and they told her to kill Satoko's uncle. I was the only one talking that whole time. Mion quietly listened to everything I had to say, like a pastor listening to a confession. She could have gotten angry partway through, told me off, and to go wash my face in miso soup and come back later. But she didn't. Was that proof that Mion's family, the Sonozaki, were the masterminds? Or was it she just listening because she felt sorry for me going kind of crazy? I didn't know which it was, but it was the one effort I could make at the moment. It was another form of insurance. Should worst come to worst, and the public agency decide to wait and see, although I feel like public agony is very accurate too. It was completely useless resistance, literally grasping at straws. Teacher said that if she reported it to the Child Consultation Centre, they'd have to respond on the same day. Could they already be in the middle of responding to it now? Satoko came to school tomorrow morning all energetic, then everything would just be a needless fear. Why couldn't tomorrow come faster? That night was unusually hot and humid, and I couldn't get to sleep. I said all that to teacher. They couldn't possibly decide to wait and see again this year. Satoko, what was it like for her tonight? Had she tasted the end of her nightmare, enjoying a night of liberation? I actually put my hands together and prayed into my futon. Good morning, Keiichi. Morning. Thank goodness. I thought you overslept today too. Mom said you'd gone on ahead yesterday and then you weren't at school. I was worried you got heat stroke halfway there. Yeah, I'm very sorry for all the worry I caused you yesterday. Hey, good morning. Mion, good morning. Are you alright? You look really tired. Oh, right, wasn't there a big business meeting with all those people on the town council yesterday? They only called it that. It was more like a party. We have the festival every year, right? We wouldn't have any annoying meetings at this point. Are you going to help out with the festival this afternoon then? Yep. I have to do a meet and greet with all sorts of people in Grandma's place. Besides, they already started setting up for the festival. Our morning conversation was light-hearted as usual. Looked like Mion had thankfully forgotten about how I'd barged into her house yesterday with that crazy talk. The more I think back on it, I feel like I'd really said something terrible to her. I was really thoughtless, and it wouldn't have been weird if she'd yelled at me. It was highly possible that Mr. Kano had exaggerated her story. To think our comrade and friend, Mion, the young leader of the Sonozakis, one of the three families effectively controlling Hinamizawa, was putting the strings behind the serial death incidents was a little unbelievable. Is it really? But if there was even a 1% chance that it was true, then what I said yesterday to Mion might have been a success. Yes, it was no more than 1 in 100, but that little bit of effort might have brought the chance of saving Satoko up by even a tiny bit. At least I'd made that effort. After yesterday ended, I was sure I'd done everything I possibly could. If there was something else I could do, it was probably just to clap my hands and pray that Satoko's uncle would be killed by the curse. I hope Satoko makes it today. Me too. Teacher is doing things for her, right? I'm sure it'll be fine. My aunt is a welfare agent in the Hinamizawa district. I gave her a call last night. Huh? I didn't know your aunt was a welfare officer. What happened? Did you tell her about Satoko? Yep. Miss Chie called the Okonomiya Child Consultation Centre right after we talked to her. A child welfare officer apparently visited before the night was over. My aunt said they were going to pay visits at regular intervals from now on. Enough of the dumb little stuff. I want to know what happened to Satoko. Did they get her safe? My aunt wasn't that informed about it. I was supposed to keep this a secret anyway. Her telling me was a big breach of ethics in the first place. Damn, that makes me feel even worse. Let's get to school. Right. Discussing this more would just make us feel worse. It was far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. Sorry. Just realised I said I'd get a thing in for a friend tomorrow and I've forgotten, so I'll have to record that tonight. Just came out of nowhere, I just remembered that. Far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. The three of us nodded and ran off. Was Satoko safe? What measures had the Child Consultation Centre taken? I didn't care what. As long as he could get back to our peaceful life with Satoko today, it didn't matter to me. At the shoe racks at the entrance, Reina took a peek in Satoko's shoe cubby. Ah, Satoko's shoes are here. They're here. Keiichi, Satoko came. Thank goodness. We don't know if anything happened just because she came to school. Can't know anything until we see her face. We trotted towards the classroom. The classroom was lively as it usually was in the morning. Satoko, where are you? Me. She's right here. It's too early in the morning to be so loud. Would you please keep it down a bit? Satoko, you okay? All of our friends crowded around Satoko excitedly. So, Satoko, how'd it go at your house? Who was it that called them? I swear it was quite a mess, you know. It was the teacher. You were absent for so long, of course she was worried. Satoko said, I told you I'm fine, under her breath. She was still trying to overcome all the suffering on her own. It was a big bother to both me and my uncle. Person just barged in on us suddenly. Jeez. Everyone was worried about you, Satoko. Don't say it was a bother. Ah, jeez. Anyway, what happened? Nothing happened. My cold got better, so I came back to school, that's all. Can't take too much time off from now on, because then you'll all worry about me. What was Satoko saying? What happened to, well, your uncle? Oh, he admitted there were some misunderstandings, and we both apologised. Rika grabbed the rack of my collar and pulled me away. What is it, Rika? Rika silently dragged me all the way into the hallway. Rika, what did that mean? Satoko said nothing was happening and chased them away. That idiot! But why? No, somewhere in my mind, I thought it might turn out like this. Satoko didn't ask for anyone's help. She didn't hide behind anyone. She was trying to ride out this pain. She wanted to show Satoshi proof that if he came back to them, she wouldn't need to hide behind him anymore. But Coach said probation officers can bring her to safety in an emergency, even if it's against her wishes. However much Satoko denies the abuse, it's a fact. Miss Chie finally came. Her expression was far from cheerful. Yes, you're right, Maebara. If the child welfare officer determines that it's an emergency, they have the right to immediately take them to safety, regardless of the affected party's intent. Then why? Why is Toko's intent being respected so much? It's weird. Why didn't they put her into safety? Well, after looking into it from so many angles, that's what the Okonomiya Child Consultation Center determined. What the hell is that? Teacher, didn't you say it was going to be alright, since you definitely save her? What's the meaning of this? Doesn't make any sense. Answer me, damn it. Keiichi. This is actually the third time. It happened twice in the past too. Furude. Teacher tried to stop her, but Rika went on speaking anyway. Twice before? I heard they decided to wait and see after reporting it the winter before last, but it happened before then too? Satoko's father, who died, wasn't a real father. What? Rika, that's... what? I'm stunned at the sudden revelation. I had no idea what Rika wanted to tell me, but it seemed really important, so I couldn't get a word in either. Satoko's mother remarried. She brought Satoko and Satoshi with her, so they weren't related by blood to their father. Satoshi was a good kid, one who listened politely to what adults told him. He was immediately welcomed by the new father and was loved. But Satoko was different. She was rebellious, she told lies, she played pranks. Her stepfather didn't like her at all. What? So what do you mean? Even before she was given to their uncle and a wife, Satoko didn't have a very good relationship with her family. Of course, her stepfather didn't have any malicious intent at the start. First, he must have worked hard to get his new daughter to accept him. But the young Satoko didn't make any effort towards that end. She was distant towards her stepfather and never opened her heart to him even a little. She just got on his nerves all the time, with seemingly forced lies and pranks. Father's discipline and punishment must have been loving at first, of course, but that too faded quickly. I don't know, because I wasn't in Hinamizawa at the time, but I learned this on the phone yesterday. What story did you hear, teacher? That Satoko wanted to trick her parents, especially her stepfather, so she made up a false story and phoned the child consultation centre herself. She made up a story about hurting herself? Satoko made a fake phone call to try and get rid of the father she hated. Child welfare officers rushed there and heard the story. Father genuinely apologised for a few times when he'd gone too far and agreed to let the child welfare centre give him coaching. Related agencies looked into it quite a bit. They determined that Satoko and her stepfather's hearts not being quite matched up was the cause of the incident. But they found another problem, above that, with Satoko. Problem with Satoko? What was it? Satoko's mother. There are a few times where she lived with de facto husbands, so those relationships didn't result in remarriage. From a young age, Satoko had been forced to call at least 2 or 3 people a father. At some point, Satoko's pranks escalated. She'd spill food on purpose, turn over her plate, and even throw it. She'd break the windows in the neighbourhood and shoplift candy. She put thumbtacks everywhere and set other traps to seriously hurt people. Not in the way she did now, just to get laughs. She was also fond of telling lies that we found out right away, and people got mad at her every time. But she never ever changed her behaviour. It's called mental illness. Please don't think Satoko is a problem child. Satoko was young. It was an act of self-defence that she had to take against the unknown men her mother had chosen. In regards to Satoko's problematic behaviour, child-like experts from public institutions indicated her actions were to draw her mother's attention to herself. They acknowledged that she had a form of harmful emotional trauma, declared that she needed counselling and therapy from professionals, didn't know whether that therapy had healed the wounds in her heart. Satoko purposely hurt herself and told them she was being abused by her stepfather, in an attempt to chase them out. But, in the end, her stepfather did abuse her, right? No. All of the abuse had been made up by Satoko. Her stepfather, of course, may have scolded her in a somewhat emotional way, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. Satoko had lied to chase away her stepfather, and they saw through her right away and found out that Satoko had issues. Oh, could it be that's why the winter before last they decided to wait and see? Yes, the centre had all their past records, so they needed to act carefully in case Satoko was lying. What the hell? So what? Satoko might be telling a lie, so they need to be careful. So how does that mean they just end up waiting and seeing? It was the girl who cried wolf. That fable about telling a lie once, making others unwilling to believe you later. Bullshit. Past has nothing to do with this, does it? I think what's really happening right now is important. Satoko is being abused by her uncle. Why is something that happened in the past getting in the way of helping her now? Neither teacher nor Rika had anything to say to that. Anyway, yesterday a probation officer visited to carefully determine what was going on. And Satoko dealt with them, put on her best, strongest smile she could, managed and denied the abuse. Of course, she was probably being threatened to keep quiet about it by her uncle. Satoko was trying to outlast everything without asking for help. Satoko wanted to wait for Satoshi to come back home, and she outright denied the truth of the abuse. What an idiot. What? You're not really enduring it. Do you really think pretending to like this will actually bring Satoshi back? Just stop it already. Satoshi, he abandoned you. And the fact that he hasn't shown up to save you now is proof, isn't it? So just stop it. Please stop being weird and pretending to endure it. Forget everything we just said. Understand? If you tell anyone else, your teacher will be very mad with you. Miss Chia gave me a warning, then left to go back to the teacher's lounge. Keiichi, please don't think Satoko is a pathetic, pitiful girl. She's living life. I know that. She's our irreplaceable friend. Satoko is still trying her best. Let's watch over her, a little longer. Person from the consultation centre said they'd visit periodically from now on. If something terrible happens, they'll help her right away. But only after it happens. Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight, so I firmly swallowed my next words and went back to the classroom. Mion and Reina were talking to Satoko like they always did. It was a silly conversation, a humorous, even fun one, like it was any old day. If Satoko really said she could still endure it, then maybe I should do as Rika said and watch over her. Maybe whatever help I offer will just go unwanted. Oh, it's a horrible, horrible situation. To be honest, so I'm gonna get real with you guys on stream right now. I spent about half of my teenage years being emotionally abused, and I did not realising it until long after it had ended. Like, I would say a year after it ended was when I began to put the dots together and realise it was emotional abuse. And I do feel like if anyone had noticed at the time and had said anything, I would have absolutely been in the same situation. I would have been like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. Like, because I was genuinely like, this is how it be, right? This is how you emotionally connect to people, right? And then years later I was like, oh. So I don't think help would have been welcome for me at that point. Because it's not like I knew I was a victim. It makes it very hard. I don't know. It's just a horrible situation. It turns the stomach. Not the game, but what the game's about turns the stomach. Although the game does sometimes turn the stomach, but only when it gets, like, graphic with the gore. Okay, why don't we all have lunch? Me. It's been a while since it's been all 5 of us. This really is how it has to be. Here. Come on, you too, Keiichi. Bring your desk over. Satoko brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing had been resolved, this exchange was pleasant and made me remember how fun it used to be. I can't have Rika making a bento for me forever. I don't mind. I have fun making a bento. Rika's such a good girl. Having such a good friend must be so reassuring. I put in the big steak, and Satoko puts in the burnt stuff. So if it was just Satoko, it'd be so sad. So very sad, Nipa. I take it back. Well, she's Rika after all. Hey, come on, look. I've got organise today. Mushrooms and stuff are delicious. Delicious. How? I say it every time, but your craftsmanship is splendid. You could become a wife whenever and not have a problem. A wife? Eating a wife? What? Using the word wife is totally forbidden around Reina. Please don't say it again. I'll think about what I've done. A little. By the way, what's in your lunch, Mion? Looks different again today. We're all waiting in anticipation. It's a rich assortment of side dishes left over from what my uncle brought last night. The stew looks really great, huh? Colour of the radishes too? Really good, right? Wow, it looks delicious. Stew tastes best when it's left overnight. It looks like it'd be really good. And so there'll be none left for Satoko. I'll eat it all and tell you what I think, so just be quiet and watch. What was that? Hand over my portion too? Punch, headbutt. Use my knees too. Oh, close range like this, my advantage is unwavering. Keiichi, the daikon in your portion tastes really good. Damn it, coming right for me from the start and using a combo attack? How humiliating. This little exchange, how long had it been? Looked like they ended up going up with a wait-and-see approach, but maybe her uncle had realised he'd gone a little too far and would dial it back now. If the treatment improved a little, would that be a good thing? Satoko was grinning wider than I'd ever seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of the daikon she'd plundered from me. Did it really taste that good? Satoko was somewhat cute like that. Just as I'd done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. Catch. Smack, flop, clatter, clatter. Huh? Satoko? So sudden that for a moment I didn't know what had happened. The back of my hand was stinging. I went to pet Satoko's head and then she hit my hand. Well, yeah. What's wrong, Satoko? Fight or flight, buddy. Satoko was scratching at her head as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and become itchy. So sudden and so unprovoked that I didn't understand what happened. What's wrong, Satoko? At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat, and her breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that what it meant? Hey, did you dislike being pet? Once again, slowly I held up the palm of my hand and brought it close to Satoko's head. The instant the palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity, and Satoko began to howl. Yeah! Slam. She grabbed my arm with both hands, and as if flinging off a snake trying to cling to her, as if trying to throw away something dirty, she threw it violently. It happened too suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me, and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. Satoko bellowed, it sounded like she was in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. Then she threw up the food she'd just eaten. I hate this, so I'm not going to read it. You okay, Satoko? You seem sick. Yeah. Reached out a hand and she swatted it away with all her might. Such extreme strength that I fell on the floor again. Satoko put both hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more and took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both hands around. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed anything within reach, bent her boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them and flung them about. Wait, stop it, Satoko. What's wrong with you? Ew. She screamed out as if Mion's words had caused a physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All the students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Satoko alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her, there were desks and chairs all over the floor. Vento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Satoko's ragged breaths and the voice of the cicadas. I'm sorry. The strings of tension loosened around Satoko, and maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions, because she started trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew who that apology was directed towards, so for now, I decided to answer as everyone's representative. No, it's fine. Are you alright? I'm sorry. Yeah. Our words didn't match each other at all. Satoko hugged her shoulders, and back she went. Bang! She ran into the locker with the cleaning supplies in it. Even that made it give a little yell. The impact caused the bucket atop the locker to fall, making a loud sound, and that scared Satoko most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtain in her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink. I'm sorry. It wasn't me. Satoko, what on earth? Stood up, took a step away from everyone, and approached Satoko. What happened? I said, I don't know. You're wrong. Please stop, please forgive me. Just calm down. Satoko, do you know who I am? No more. I hate this. Every time I took a step forward, she grasped the curtain more tightly and cried out. Satoko, it's me, it's Keiichi. Don't you recognize me? I would never ever hurt you. No! Come on, calm down. It's alright. I'm your friend. Help me. I don't want to be scared. Feels bad. No, I don't want... I just realised I've been giving Satoko the wrong voice for this entire time. Also, it should be Rika approaching her. Suddenly, my shoulders grabbed and I was dragged backwards. It was Reina. Sorry, Keiichi. You get a little farther back. After pulling me back, she ran towards Satoko in my place. It's okay, Satoko. There's nothing to be scared of. Please, don't worry. No more. No more of that. Nini, help me. Help me. Nini, help me. She gripped the curtain and kept calling for Nini. She continued to wail about being forgiven for something, and to be saved from something. What is this? Mion gnashed her teeth and groaned, and there were tears falling from her firmly closed eyes. The hell? What is this? Didn't this all come to an end yesterday? What, am I supposed to go back to our old lives? Mion! Ugh. It was a crazy sound. Reina had taken the cleaning supply locker and kicked it down to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at Reina's unexpected act of brutality. After that, Reina embraced us, drawing Satoko from behind, and started crying with her, stifled. Reina, what's wrong? Sorry, Keiichi, be quiet for a minute. What is it now? What happened? What did Satoko tell you? What did you hear? Shut the hell up! I told you to shut your mouth, asshole! Reina's raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion for Reina, but it was more than that for me. She'd shown me what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart. Oh. Satoko. No more. Forgive us. We couldn't do anything for you. Forgive us. Ha! Nini! I'm sorry. Oh. Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Reina's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly turning to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with grey, and the world lost its colour. I thought we could save Satoko, but though I knew it'd be the sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that, and I've even dreamt that we could be too late. I'd been making a huge mistake. Thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake. People, they break. Thinking that they don't is absolutely absurd. Also, especially given the fact that she flinched when he touched her head, I reckon either she's got a concussion and or fight or flight. I know people who've had similar things in the past where physical contact is very triggering for them, and so they are very much like, no hugs, no physical contact, keep a strict distance. And it's like, you know what? Fucking fair. I'm not going to enforce that on you, because in the end, I care more about my friends being comfortable. So, it's a fun takeaway from this. Remember that many people may not like hugs and other sorts of interaction for many different reasons. Thinking that they don't is absolutely absurd. We needed to save Satoko. We needed to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness had brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine. No, ours. We all took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were negligent to the point of laziness. In that sense, this was the inevitable result. Even if this didn't happen today and it happened tomorrow or the day after or next week, we would just have sat around doing nothing until that day. So this was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees, just as Mion and Rika had done, and I too closed my eyes tight and couldn't stop myself from sobbing. What is all this noise about? Wait, what's happened? The teacher came and her face screwed up at the terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realised the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtains and, like nothing happened, smiled. Hojo? What on earth is going on here? Oh, I just got into a little squabble with Reina is all. We all went a little crazy over our lunches, right? Reina didn't nod in reply, but then, since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with her extreme changes. We all just stared in a daze. It was just a little horseplay. Scared everyone out of their wits. Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing onto the rug. For what? Her heart is torn to pieces, so what else? You wanted your Nini to help, didn't you? But unfortunately for you, Satoshi doesn't intend on coming back. It's never that easy. He won't just conveniently show up and save you. So you don't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, and you can run away. We can't do anything, Mion suddenly said. She spoke then those few words that had tormented me countless times. Those words were a spell, and when I heard them, my whole body suddenly regained its calm. My emotions all slipped away like they'd never been there, like a wave departing. And then the world's colour flipped inside out. My field of view expanded. My head grew remarkably cold, and I felt like, what? The soul, doubtlessly, no longer in the small, petty vessel of my head, but floating in the air a little bit above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots, in all directions, as far as I wanted to. It was a strange feeling, and one I'd never felt before. An odd sense of exhilaration. My sharpened senses called me to transcend. My mind was sharper than a knife's edge, and I immediately decided that spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information from my brain. I expelled the pointless emotions presenting obstacles to action. Mion, you curse it all you want. Curse her powerlessness as much as you want. Huh? If I could have taken back what had happened by crying about it, I'd have cried all day. But the fact was, this is how things had turned out. Couldn't take back what had happened. Top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further and to sever the chains of misfortune. Until today, I'd been looking at things so narrow-mindedly I could scarcely believe it. To save Satoko, the only thing to do was to save Satoko. That's the only thing I thought about. I didn't allow myself to realise the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of Satoko's unhappiness. No, actually I realised it yesterday. But as for the means, I'd relied on some stupid curse from some dumb deity. I never considered carrying the task out myself. I would obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. This is a task that held infinite methods. Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money, but the method of killing that man pretty much took no money at all. You could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. Fly in my room. It was only the weight of his life. I kept eliminating needless, worthless information from my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I'd need to achieve my goal. Used every cell of my brain to think about how I'd kill him. The way I killed him didn't matter. I'd allow any method, from whatever time and whatever country, as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. If I were to have an additional condition, it would be to not get caught. Removing him was an act designed to return the peaceful times we had with Satoko. If I was arrested in exchange for the removal, then we might as well have killed each other. With only him gone, we'd go back to our normal lives. That was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him? Definitely. We definitely don't leave evidence either. Two alternatives at odds with one another. Condition of not leaving a trace back to me automatically narrowed the number of murder methods. No witnesses was an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time in Hinamizawa, there'd be nobody around. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house. Number of pedestrians different at different times. Movement algorithm of the neighbours. Would I lure him out or charge at him? What would my weapon be? When and where would I carry this out? Where? It needed to be somewhere I wouldn't leave a trace. When? It needed to be as soon as possible for Satoko's safety, without waiting even a millisecond. It's absurd. Completely absurd. When I thought about it this way, it struck me how easy the act of killing was. If I could leave evidence, if I was just going to kill him, anyone could easily turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. Told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. Sorry, I was thinking about Onikakushi and about the portrayal of Keiichi as a villain, and it just struck me that Mion's preferred method of torture is nails in the knuckles, and I had this abrupt memory of us trapping Reina's hand in the door. Take that and chew on it for a bit. It may have no meaning whatsoever. In fact, it almost definitely doesn't, but it's solidly what I thought about just now, what I was thinking about Keiichi's questionably villainous portrayal. Claim temporary insanity. Being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. Absurd. If you went all the way out into the very middle of the ocean, you wouldn't leave any trace at all. Anyone would drop those they hated into the depths if they knew that. It was all too easy to simply remove him. Could leave class right now, grab a metal baseball bat or something from the schoolyard, go to his house and attack him. Gross. Estimated time would be 25 minutes. If I wanted us to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. 3 minutes. No? 30. What? Hang on. Yes, 3 minutes. No? Thank you, Nagels. I can't do maths. And also I solidly was like, a minute has 30 seconds, and I was trying to divide it by 3. Obviously that's the right answer. I'm just fucking stupid. It's alright. I don't do maths in my day-to-day life. From when I decided what to do, he only had 1,500 seconds. Actually, if I ran full speed to his house, that number would go down even further. But he was alive. He was still part of this world at this very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mine to shreds. Why? Because I was letting him live. I was permitting him to live, so he was still alive. If I rescinded that permission, he'd be evacuating this mortal coil within 1,500 seconds. You think I'd let you live to breathe even 1,500 more seconds of air? I'm taking that permission back. Right here, right now. You better thank me for letting you live until today. However, I actually need more than 1,500 seconds. I'm not just going to end you. Getting back our old lives is far more important. It's only you I'll be cleanly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirtied my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brush my teeth before bed. So to do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1,500 seconds. I'll give you special permission to keep on living as you have until I construct the perfect plan for your murder. Wait, Keiichi. Can't let that time go to waste. Yeah, I know. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. I won't misuse any time to think of a plan. Think back. Tomorrow is Watanagashi, isn't it? Last year, on the night of Watanagashi, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant and her brain splattered everywhere. That's it. You're someone who deserves to be given death on the night of Watanagashi. Hey, Oyashiro-sama? You call yourself a guardian, but you didn't protect Satoko. Casting Satoko's family for the damn stuff is your own business, but now you've made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. I, Keiichi Maebara, hereby denounce you, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa, a failure. We don't need you. Go back to the deepest, darkest pit of your shrine this year. Besides, if you just cursed and killed both your aunt and uncle last year, none of this would ever have happened. The curse this year? It's not on you. Hang on, what if Satoko killed her aunt and then Satoshi, Why would Satoshi run away? I think it's the fact that Satoko asked to be forgiven. I still sort of think it's Satoshi. I'll be the one deciding. Won't be the 3 families controlling the serial deaths behind the scenes. No, not some vague people who I can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one to deliver divine judgment. So don't get in my way, just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I will stomp out his very existence. Go away, disappear, die. I'll tear your heart apart just like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. Whoa. Wag. Insert yell here. Keiichi, are you alright? Reina, Mion, and Rika were looking after me. Had I fallen to the floor? Surprised us. You suddenly fell down. You were having a nightmare? You were moaning. Shut it. Quit squeaking at me like that. Eeh. My friends gave a start and backed away. What? Reina and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a few moments. Was that your voice, Keiichi? Of course it was. Reina gulped firmly and opened her mouth. For a second, Keiichi, your eyes were really scary. Wink. My eyes? Probably just a trick of the light. Don't waste my time. I'm not mistaken. I've never seen those kind of eyes before. What were these guys talking about? They've all been too scared of me lately. You are Keiichi Maebara, right? What was Reina saying? Who else do I look like except Keiichi Maebara? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized. I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. More important things to worry about, wouldn't you think? God, I can't believe I'm so dumb in RE in my inability to do basic maths. Hada. June 18th, 1983. Abuse issues regarding Satoko Hojo. Urgent. Proposed that Satoko Hojo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. 1. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hinamizawa has already turned disastrous, and she is currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from the father. 2. Child Consultation Centre's response. Child Probation Officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the Prefecture Welfare Office, but because of the 77 case, changed to continued coaching and cautionary action. Fortunately, the Consultation Office head does not properly understand the situation. 3. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her in development of healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot be allowed to continue from a humane standpoint. 4. Allegations made to the family court. Proposed, based on the above items, that Satoko Hojo should immediately be taken in protective custody. Should be secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court under Article 28. Request emergency coordination between all related agencies. Fukujisho D2-3, number 44. Sometime in 1977. Child name, Satoko Hojo, some number of years old. Residence, somewhere in Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. 1. Consultation circumstances. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. 2. Abuse situation. Child claims she's being physically abused by her adoptive father. 3. Family structure. Star marks abusers. Circle, adoptive father, real mother, older brother, child in question. So the circle is next to the adoptive father. Adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 1970-something. Child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. 4. Child Consultation Centre's response. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, the centre called the child's school and asked the situation. That day, the child welfare officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. Adoptive father sincerely listened to instruction and agreed to take child raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of the suggested coaching, the centre will continue to observe the situation. Other notes. A result of numerous counselling sessions at the city's education consultation office regarding the child, we learned there was a high possibility that the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was lack of communication. Abuse she claimed hadn't actually taken place. She made a false report to distance herself from an adoptive father, but it wasn't written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. Problem appeared to be more the daughter. Chief Investigator F at the Child's Education Consultation Office said that most of the stories of abuse were likely fabrications. Decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. Yeah, that's what I'd sort of figured. It seems very... It just seems odd to me. I don't know. Maybe this is why I'm... In fact, no, there are plenty of reasons why I don't work in social welfare, but... I suppose part of the problem is also that certainly over here, child welfare places tend to be horrendously underfunded, like everywhere else that's vital, and they have a number of hoops that they have to jump through in order to get support. It's a fucking nightmare, that's what it is. Says thumpity thump. Right, let's go. I think we've got just over an hour. We've probably got time to finish this next chapter. Mion and the others, having set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat, it was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realised it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. I need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I've read a lot of articles and trials of people brought up on false charges. They do a lot to determine whether they really were false accusations, but figuring out who the real criminal was is usually out of the question. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes are sort of like works of art. You'd even be respected and revered. Just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult to solve incidents, involving secret rooms, alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were skills of the gods, and in that sense, The serial freak death incidents they were calling the Kansagori Aishiro-sama? I understood. They must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening each year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods. Those are perfect crimes. And I'd be setting up my own crime before Ayashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes, 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Wink. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame, but as systematic as ice. Starting now, I needed to retain both of those ideas within me. Modelling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes kidnappings involved disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as the basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night for a very long time, mystery novels authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I hadn't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mum. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched a mystery show, she'd always criticise them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. What do I think the most perfect crime in all the mystery novels I've read is? Yeah, well, you read quite a lot of them, right? I think you might know a lot about them. It's more fun to read them to find out. If I told you all the tricks right off the bat, there'd be no fun anymore. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was reflecting the question, so I'd somehow butter up first and draw out an answer. Of course, well done mystery novels. Yeah, they all have a unique charm to them, so it's hard to say which is the most interesting. You'd really have to force me to pick one. I didn't want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised. If it was really a perfect trick, detectives wouldn't be able to solve the case, though. If that was true, then there'd be no point. Mystery novels are enjoyable because of the process of the mysteries getting solved. If it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make a very good topic for a novel. I get it. Yeah, you're right. If the main character can't solve it, it wouldn't be much of a story, huh? Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel is basically a game. They're written so you can get to the goal, so you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives. By the way, Keiichi, do you understand that truly perfect crimes don't even become stories? Mum looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I never got to read it, but apparently one time a long time ago, Mum had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some novel award. Apparently she was really into it. Didn't even become stories. What does that mean? Keiichi, what are the essential parts of a story? A beginning, a middle, and an end? Correct. Beginning, of course, is especially important. If there's no beginning, then the story never starts. Well, yeah, if nothing happened, nothing would begin. Right, nothing happened, so there wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there'd be no solution. In other words, it'd be the ultimate perfect crime. Wait a second. Could you explain that again? My mum just told me something absurd. She was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now. It's not really that difficult to understand. Instant just has to never come to light, that's all. Never come to light? For example, how about this? Say there's an old man living deep in a forest nobody goes into. Aha. One day, the old man gets killed by an axe. Say a criminal was the old man's son. He went to the old man's house and they were drinking together, but they got into a fight and he killed him. An extremely cheap plot. It's impulsive crime without a bit of planning. Pretty far from a perfect crime. But Keiichi, house is really, really deep in this forest. So deep in the mountains that nobody would ever go out that far. Then someone go back to town and say that the old man was doing fine. What about that as a perfect crime? Keiichi, incident would only begin when it was found out that the old man was killed. Nobody had visited the old man's house after that. Beginnings would never occur. Beginning would never occur. There have actually been situations like this. I'm sure there have been murders like this, but I know of it more in terms of health things, like people who live alone going into diabetic comas and passing away as a result of that. I don't know, I'm also thinking of like the Jane Does you hear of. There's a Jane Doe that's always stuck in my mind who, I can't remember her nickname unfortunately, but she's an older woman in sort of her, 40s I believe it was, so middle-aged. And she seemed, quite healthy, quite well-to-do, well-dressed, was found, I think she was found beaten, and they'd never been able to tell who she was, no DNA results, nobody ever knew, crime remained unsolved, nobody knew it had happened, and that's a sort of, I don't know where I'm going with this, it's an intriguing thought. You can tell I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. Basically, the story wouldn't start, incident wouldn't come to light, and they wouldn't call in detectives. Nobody would be suspicious in the first place, so there'd be no mystery. Think the old man was still living by himself deep in the forest, and the old man's face would appear in the sky and that would be it. Something like that, you know? That's amazing. Pretty great trick. But it wouldn't be a novel. Mystery novels are for entertainment, after all. They can't be instruction manuals for perfect crimes. I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sum of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. Important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it'd be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after her aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of the Watanagashi festival came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bag out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. Pardon me. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cold air on my body. Where I kill him, how I do it, time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. So surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered, being completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time, but if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of the Watanagashi, so as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. Can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please, hold out for a little longer. I know you can't even last another second, I know that, but please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. Sky was the colour of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I definitely expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for deciding that man I decided upon. Killing that man, sorry. Deciding the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. Same as the punishment the aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing with a blade would be more reliable, but this was something I'd chosen after a lot of thought. You just needed to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimetres, I think. Over here it's 2.5 inches. The blades available to me, though long enough, were limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, using a weapon with reach would be far more effective. Might not have the same precision, but you just had to hit the guy until you killed him. Both options resulted in death. With that settled, what is the weapon with the most terrifying force behind it that's also easy to carry around? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Those things are heavy as shit. A special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. I'll speak about it later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun, playing in the schoolyard. Could show up there and be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on a weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. Didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, I'd definitely be suspicious. Can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I'd acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went in at the entrance. I do like this music. Looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. Didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep out of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. Suddenly stepped into a place like that? Would the desks and their surprise fight me, crush my bones and eat me alive? That's ridiculous. Part regret at wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker. One I had accidentally discovered one day. Here it is. Hoja. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learnt it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. Of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside it was average and worthless. At the time I hadn't been so interested, so I'd forgotten until now what had been inside it. Now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered the thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker and a stench of mould and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes, Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform. And a bat. The one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes, this is the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role, it was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him, sorry. Reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I'll stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. I wonder, in part 4... So the implication for part 1 is that Reina is the villain, but we're the one who takes the bat and, consider violence. In self-defense, but... And I mean, there really is no suspicion for Reina being the villain other than the fact that we know she previously had a breakdown, and previously had violent tendencies. She doesn't actually do anything, really. And then last time around, Mion was very clearly the villain. This time around, it seems like we are, with we're not the villain per se, but we're definitely an anti-hero. I know part 4 is focused around Rika, so I wonder if it's... I just wonder who's portrayed as the villain in part 4. No more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just need to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. Oh, I couldn't do that. Can't do that tomorrow. If I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody'd be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. Been warned by a teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. Quietly hid it in the shadow of the vehicle. The chance of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow was slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off, and from what my classmates had said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So it was almost definitively fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dull thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple of hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay, next, how to dispose of the corpse. Lordy Lou, this is fucking grim. Sorry, I was doing some brief maths there. Disposing of the corpse. Ultimate way not to create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi village. In other words, the swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, I felt the theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. But they may have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. People said large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, gaining a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse year before last, Rika's mother drowning herself in the swamp, and the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first course too. It was rumoured he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. Never heard of the corpse coming back up or them finding it. Shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? Could discard the weapon there, and then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle intact, it'd be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transport. As for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. Drowning, suicide and accident were both rumours. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumours about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. Meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and not coming back up. Then what would I do with the body? Thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him to pieces and hide him. But the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. My neighbours can hear me, they're going to be really freaked out. It's my revenge. For how loud and annoying they are. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion, to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then where would I bury it? That was the question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, and make the location of the act and the hole close together. Choice of where to plan the crime. That I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. Had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. Could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. Imagine a map of the area in my head, and I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of back road that went through the woods. Didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Keiichi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he'd pass through these woods first. Nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Satoko's house, or one or two other places. The path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. Would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went into the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. Didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? Man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Organise police station. You have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? Didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. Young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police of the hospital, told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I'd attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I'd lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It'd be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on her former peaceful days, and when she went home everything would be over. Yeah, that'd be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body, so it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me when I was completely exposed as I buried a corpse. I'd wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew further away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds from here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place. Digging a hole, huh? Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. Probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. Mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. Glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. Probably what I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out, but Mum would be upset if I stayed out that late. Wouldn't be good to come off suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I needed to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? Decided where to kill him. Decided how to kill him. Decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. Didn't decide in the time, but I'd play that by ear. Didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Was this really something planned that I missed? Did this really go high planned? After all this, worry started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. Dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. If you've forgotten how miserable Satoko looked, from the outside it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart my knees were shaking madly. Never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned, but was the actual murder the most important part, what unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations. If I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it! After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maebara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder. To kill someone. For someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. The safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedalled my bike hard to get back home. I have no commentary on this because I'm just finding it really unnerving. I understand the heavy implications that Keiichi is now possessed by whatever it is that last time round possessed Mion and potentially possessed Reina in the past, if not in Onikakushi, but it's still... It's really unnerving to hear it from the protagonist perspective, you know? Yo. That's how I feel. I felt somehow unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. Also, I totally understand this feeling. I get it all the time. It's called dissociation, Keiichi. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maebara. If that will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater hiccups, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. It was the first time I'd been calling Mion's house. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. It was around dinner time. She'd probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver. Hello, this is Sonozaki. Oh, I'm sorry for calling so late at night. Is this Mion? Huh? May I ask who's calling? It's me, Keiichi. Ah, okay, Keiichi. It's pretty late. What's up? She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood and she drew her syllables out. Right, it's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with the family having some drinks. Sorry for the late call. Do you have time right now? Sure. What is it? It's about Satoko. I heard her draw in a small breath on the other end. Satoko, she's in a pretty bad spot. I hope she's okay. The scent of sake completely disappeared from her voice. She can't be okay. You saw too, didn't you? What she was like? She was completely worn out from all the abuse. We failed her all this time and now she's become like that. We didn't fail her. Everyone tried their hardest to help her. But we didn't come up with anything and we couldn't save her. In the end we couldn't do anything about it, and now she's become like that. I guess you're right. All I did was watch after all. Well, at least... Couldn't we at least let her have fun for one night? Huh? Let her have fun? She's been so battered lately, you understand, that's why. I want you to take her to Watanagashi tomorrow. I don't mind, but why? Why? I want to give her a breather, at least for the festival night, you know? Even if it's just one night, if she can get away from her uncle, then I think she'll be happy, even if only for a little while. Yes, but why? Why? Why what? was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me. Why, well, why don't you bring her, Keiichi? Why do you need to ask me to do it? Mion was persistent about odd things. Maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp. I actually have something to do tomorrow. I can't make it to the festival, so I wanted you to take Satoko there for me. Something to do? It's nothing major. I'll probably finish quickly, but I might not be able to meet up with you at all tomorrow. Hey, Mion. Could I leave Satoko to you, just for tomorrow night? Mion took a long time to give her reply. I got the feeling that she'd been acting weird for a while now, like she was flustered by emotions or something. I feel it. No. Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? You crying? I said no. I don't want you to push this onto someone like me. I'm not trying to push anything onto you. It's just for tomorrow night. That was a lie! What? Mion, what was she talking about? Saying it's just for the night of Watanagashi, and then it was forever. Liar. But I guess we're even, huh? Couldn't keep the promise I made with you. I left her alone all this time. I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly now talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. All I could do was listen to her in a daze. You never came back after that, and now you called me again to push her onto me. You're so unfair. Hey, you're Satoshi, aren't you? Mion, what are you talking about? When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released. I'm sorry, it's nothing. It's just that I got a phone call a lot like the one you're making now, a long time ago. Was it from Satoshi? Mion didn't answer. All I could hear was sobs coming through the receiver. Sorry, I think I'm still a little tipsy. I got all weirdly emotional. Sorry, I probably scared you. I had no idea how it happened, but I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion and told her to bring Satoko to the festival. When she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I just did. Satoshi didn't go to the festival, did he? Yeah, he said he had something to do and couldn't make it, and he told me to take Satoko there in his place. Same time, Satoshi said it too, didn't he? Did he leave Satoko to you? Yeah, he did. Just for tomorrow night. The way you said it was just like how he did. I just got a little upset, caught up in a memory and all. Didn't expect this. I did. Satoshi had given the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. Mion kept going after that. That he was lying? That he told her it would only be for the night of the festival? I get it. A few days later, Satoshi, he disappeared. Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning Satoko. Yes, he didn't transfer or run away from home. He disappeared. And then an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If in the truest sense he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where the aunt was beaten to death. Could it... Was Satoshi... Huh? What was that? Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt too. Her aunt abused her the most, and on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it? So Keiichi, I understand you're in a very rough emotional spot. I just figured this out a while ago. Last year, Satoko's aunt was beaten to death, wasn't she? Would it be impossible for Satoshi to have... No, but that would mean... But then, Satoshi, he was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable. I actually considered that as well. That'd be mean to Satoshi. A few days later, he disappeared, on Satoko's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in, day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that was why the corpse of their aunt beaten to death was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in his anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He permitted a beginning to occur. The police conducted a full-blown investigation. It was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi. He wished for a return for the peaceful days with Satoko and thought he achieved it for a time. He had been steadily driven into a corner, and then he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday, but finally they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he'd amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He'd buy the stuffed animal as a gift and then get caught. Or he could use the money and disappear. That was a choice he'd been forced to make. And he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, then it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Satoko happy, he had to use it to make her sad, and he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo if the rumours were true. Was that how Satoshi disappeared? I don't know. That Oishi guy seems to think that way, though. Oishi? Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit? Circumstantial evidence is all there, but I think your deduction is wrong. They caught some lowlife somewhere in the prefecture and he apparently turned himself in for the crime. That was right. Devin had confessed and the incident was solved. They said he was really just a crazy person. He had no ties to Hinamizawa, and no relationship with Satoshi, of course. I mean, I have a pretty hard time believing the guy would lie in Satoshi's place. Couldn't just arbitrarily decide like that. Never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it really was perfect crime, there'd been no reason for Satoshi to vanish. Plus, I don't think Satoshi had the kind of money to run away. That day he withdrew all his savings. No matter who I tell this to, nobody believes me, but stuffed animal he said he was buying for Satoko, it was gone from the display, sold. Must have been Satoshi. Wait a minute, if he didn't use the money to flee and bought the stuffed animal instead, he would have gone back to Satoko, wouldn't he? Seems unbelievable he'd buy it and then disappear without having given it to her. Yeah, so now I don't know what happened. It'd be one thing if he had the money, but if he used all his savings on it, he'd be totally broke. Can't live a life on the run without money in this world. I wonder if possibly he was vanished by... So the implication seems to be that I believe that Satoko's uncle was working for the Hinamizawa gangsters, so I wonder if possibly they had something to do with it. Like the Sonozaki, the Yakuza branch of the Sonozaki family had something to do with it as like a as revenge? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, what I'm assuming here, of course, is that there is no such thing as supernatural. You know, the disappearing curse isn't real. I'm assuming it's all the human element. The thing with if there is the supernatural, it becomes very easy to go, oh, he just disappeared, and it's just the supernatural. So I think it's more fun and mind-boggling to think about it from a human element. My other thought, possibly, is that he was driven mad by grief, and then just, possibly just offed himself, or, just walked out, into the, into nothingness, and, was never seen or heard from again. There's all sorts of bad things that could happen to a person that could make them disappear. I know, I think about them every day. I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. Two of us fell silent. Couldn't remember how we even got on this topic. Sorry, I think we got off topic. Satoko, right? Don't worry, I actually already invited her. Huh? Are you serious? When everyone went to the shrine to prepare for the festival, we started talking about getting Satoko to the festival itself, so then I used the phone at the assembly hall to invite her. Her uncle was acting distant and didn't seem to care at all, but in any case, we got the okay from him. Decided to all meet up and go together tomorrow. You okay with that? Satoshi? Stupid, I'm not Satoshi. Little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival, and not in a way that smelled of blood, a way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for that slight difference. Sorry, I guess I didn't need to call then. First yesterday, now today. Sorry for saying such weird things. Just forget about it. No, I'm the one who should apologise. Losing it like that isn't like me. I'm really sorry. We apologised to each other for a bit. Alright, I'll be going now. Good night. What did you have to do? As if interrupting our parting words, Mion struck straight where it hurt. Or is it like with Satoshi, where you can't say... Stupid. Keep telling you, I'm not Satoshi. Yeah, I know that. Deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that. Alright, this time for real. Good night. I don't know why you're giving me the same phone call as Satoshi did, but... Yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. Good night. I'm hanging up. Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? Scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Ayashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, the aunt's death and Satoshi's disappearance, and now me trying to carry out Ayashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi, the day before the curse. No, that wasn't all. If we start back from Satoko being abused, then I'd been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. That was the first impression a third party like Mion got, that it was probably true. Then as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder, but that was the extent to which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, and more calculating. Could actually grow calmer the more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps, and would snip him cleanly out of the world, and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi had been with me ever since I chose to use this bat as my weapon. Maybe even longer than that, when I decided I'd be her Nini. Maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then, too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini, even now, the kind worthy of Satoko's love? I'd never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I'd never felt that way before. These chapters seem to be going way faster than previous ones. That only lasted, they're about 45 minutes each. Usually they're about an hour. The icon for this one is a little baseball bat. It's possessed and it said, made your decision without looking back. Oh, there we go. Load in eventually. July something, 1982. Okonomiya Police Station, first investigative decision. Chief Takasugi. Shishibone Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. Shishibone Branch Head, blah blah blah. Regarding incident designated as undercover investigation. Message to inform you that a section of testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found that is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question. Okonomiya Police Station X, Hinamizawa Village Housewife's Daughter incident. During investigation of suspect blah blah blah, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was testimony related to the crime in question, and as part of it, we learned that the criminal had information only he could have known. Therefore, this record of testimony, duplicate attached, will be provided to you. If this testimony is to be believed, there is an extremely high chance that suspect blah 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 was the culprit behind the incident in question. In addition, the head investigator on the case received this report and inquired as to the incident with Okonomiya Police Station. The responsible party at Okonomiya Station, who responded to the designated undercover investigation, announced by the Prefectural Police's General Director on July 1st, 1982, Osamu Fusukane, B112, misunderstood, did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator on the case properly. Because of this, the case's head investigator was not aware of the importance of the testimony as related to the case in question. As a result, was negligent when combing the scene. We apologise for having left it in the dark until now. In addition, there's a postscript stating, suspect blah 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 died while in confinement yesterday on something or another. What does that mean? Say that in English. I'm confused. So... somebody had confessed, but because the person responsible for passing on the information was wrong, they couldn't get physical evidence confirming this from the scene? I don't quite understand that. You know what, I'm going to read that again because I'm confused. Police station, branch, incident, something or other. Section of the testimony records of an incident under this headquarters jurisdiction and found that it is thought to be related to the undercover investigation incident. Okay. Just a suspect who was requested. So he confessed to having information about the crime that he only would have known. If it's to be believed, then he was the culprit. The head investigator received the report and inquired as to the incident. Investigation. So, somebody at... okay, right. I still don't really understand it, but whatever. Let's push forward, shall we? Maybe I'd try and get us to a nice break in this one, so we've got a good dramatic... it's nice and dramatic for next week. Sunday. Fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather, it was cloudy. Television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight, but as long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open or it wouldn't begin. The Furide Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in the auspicious colours of red and white. Sound of electric motors at the stalls, voices of kids running around, the happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering for just a few moments, while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. Be a day I'd remember vividly for as long as I lived. Told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening, and lounged about during the early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by my deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out the corner of my eye, I went to the front door, tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. When I was planning out the act of the murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm I always thought I'd lost my emotions. Then yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. Entering today, right now I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get when you first wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he committed towards Satoko, nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathise with her. Felt no discontent towards my friends who just waited and watched, never reaching out to her with any help, and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now, you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. When it came down to it, I probably need to let my violent emotions take control. But right up until that moment, I'd be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective, and then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that, just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way, thinking like an insect. Tug. Tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need it to dig the man's grave. Shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted it like so and split it into three, I could easily hide it in my bag. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it, and even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason, like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self deep within me was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. Last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. Air around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity, but even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. Definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. Didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. Wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove a little further into the woods. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. Took another look around, not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. Took the disassembled shovel out my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into a soft-looking patch of ground and pushing it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2... Couldn't do it on the countdown, despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground, and I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Damn it, just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split came the sharp noise. It was only soft at the beginning. Roots and stones quickly got in my way, informing me just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for one person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it'd be enough to cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. I dug enough now. Could hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I'd go down into the hole, grew disappointed with how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops that fell into the ground. My back was in even worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin and it felt so disgusting. Things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. It was sticky. It was itchy. All this uncomfortable feeling surged through me in waves. Damn it! So what are you telling me to pack up and go back home? Is that it? I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself, me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way and digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school, or even before that, my whole life had only ever been me doing what other people told me to. Didn't mean it was somehow constrained to living life just based on the commands of others, and I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. I'd never been particularly physically fit. Didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. It wasn't like captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock, paper, scissors contest to see who'd get me. Big move, brother. Why did I just say that? Sometimes I say things and I wonder why. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone's only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother. Keiichi, would you like to go to a cram school? You'll be better grasp what you're learning at school and it'll be more fun. The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problem dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mum and the person at cram school had a really long heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said, but I clearly remember one point. Mum had made a loud groan, surprised at something. By 61, do you mean his average score was 61 points? No, not at all, Miss Maybara. Mean deviation of our crime schools all across the country is 61. He's showing rare numbers, even if this was just a simplified intelligence exam. First, I'd like to say that Keiichi Maybara is extremely bright. Keiichi? But he doesn't have very good grades at school. He has average marks on his report card. B's, C's, D's. Some kind of mistake? We cross-checked with several tests as well, and we learned some very interesting things as a result. Maybara is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning. Just has no interest in simple, dull questions that don't have to do with everyday life. So even if he doesn't know what 2 + 3 is, if you told him you had 2 apples and you got 3 more, he'd understand that sort of question? That's right. For example, instead of telling him to draw a flattened, foldable cube, what if we asked him what a die would look like when cut open? If he did that, he can answer beautifully. Then the person from this ground school showed her a page of one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they? This question asked to draw an unfolded regular icosahedron, a shape with 20 faces. When we rephrased it and asked him how he'd cut out a piece of cardboard to create a 20-sided die, Keiichi drew the answer as though it were easy. This is not something an average child can do. Keiichi, have you ever made a die with 20 sides from a magazine extra or anything? Dice only went from 1 to 6. I never even considered before this test there were dice with more than that, 6 sides. Ah, cries a single tear. It's fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win at dice games against anyone, so I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes. When I remembered how much better they'd done at things like dodgeball and the 50-metre sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good at them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. Did happen, didn't it? Grinned dryly in self-deprecation. Because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. My classes were behind in what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. Well, I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, and the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, then go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realised just how inadequate it was. Some things happened and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. Then my father had a place that he liked, that he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature, started saying that he wanted to bring his atelier there. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. After that, I met them, didn't I? First day after the transferring here, I went to the classroom with a teacher. Thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open and set foot into the room. Clatter. Thrilling, powerful way open the door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. Then, within seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me, plus there was a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Come on, Stick was already beating me right from the first day I transferred? Frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised the students in the class were all in different grades and were different genders. It's because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew, and as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to go. A fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. We played Old Maid with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all our passions go wild during our games. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town, and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was the bento competition. It was that's when I saw an unexpected side to Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. It was such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realised that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home, and I vowed to become her Nini. Satoko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it may have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's wives and siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times, but I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path? To take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. And you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep on going forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from the brightly lit, paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I'd go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. Crush. When I next realised it, the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself? Think digging this much is enough, right? Put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. Would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening and I hadn't realised it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on a slanted rock nearby and wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. And then I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do that reached that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. Didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that, a contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back or let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I'd pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill, because I was human. It was so funny to me that I bear the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood, concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions, to search for anyone around but me. Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one else had forced me to walk. Let's do this, Keiichi Maebara. The cicadas made an annoying fuss. The chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot, and the chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I'd be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. If not even in an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to a public agency, but this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes. When the Higurashi cried. And that, folks, is where we are going to leave it today. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. It is very, very much appreciated, and I do hope that you enjoyed this incredibly dramatic chapter. I will be streaming Dishonored 2 on Saturday, where we will be infiltrating the Adamai Institute. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2, where we'll be continuing on with the Black Armory, and also a couple of other of the exotic quests that I've got going on, but we're going to focus on getting Black Armory done first. Next Tuesday will be Final Fantasy XIV, where we will be continuing our Shard's adventures through Shadowbringers, going through words are so difficult. We are continuing our adventures in Almareng, and going to sort that shit out. And then finally next Thursday it will be more Higurashi When They Cry, Tatarigoroshi, where we're gonna commit a murder, I guess. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Do look after yourselves. I'm considering walking to the supermarket to see if they're still open and buying myself a bottle of wine, because it's the sort of evening where white wine would be really, really nice right now. So that's my life. And yeah, take care, have a wonderful evening, look after yourselves, be excellent to each other, all that horse shit. And I shall see you guys on Saturday.